Thursday, we'll have temperatures in the high 70s with scattered thunderstorms. Expect fair skies on Friday and Saturday.
Welcome back. It's time to take a look at the tropics, and we are finding a few things out in the Atlantic. Certainly still monitoring our hurricane and a broad area of low pressure across the Caribbean. Let's start off with the biggest system, our monster here. Still a Category 4. We're dealing with Fabian. We've been talking about this now for the last several days. The good news here is that it's now taking more of that north-northwest track. You can see that angle right in around here, moving away from Puerto Rico. That's some very good stuff here. Good news. Still, let's take a look at the winds. Very strong, 135 mile per hour winds, situated 225 miles north-northeast of St. Martin. It looks like the area that could be impacting here over the next several days will be Bermuda around late Thursday into Friday. But it will have weakened some by the time it arrives there. As you can tell, it's already weakened just a little since the last 24 hours. There's the radar, very quiet for St. Thomas, St. Croix, up towards San Juan. Things have certainly been very quiet here. The cone, I should say, of projected path, now narrow. The more narrow it is, the more confident we feel with the forecast here. And over the next few days, even into Friday evening, you can see that it's still going to be quite narrow, especially when you compare it to Saturday into Sunday. There's still quite a bit of uncertainty the further out you go. Nonetheless, Bermuda is right around here on the eastern edge of this cone. As I mentioned, by Thursday into Friday, we could be talking about waves 20 to 30 feet high here around Bermuda. Hurricane force winds as well. So we'll be dealing with certainly a weaker system. Nonetheless, the wave action will be certainly a big impact here around Bermuda. Now, as we also know, waves do extend further out, and we could be dealing with some of those across the U.S. Now, we're not going to get the impact here for the next few days from Fabian as far as a land impact, but we will get the wave impact. Follow the legend here as we head through Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday. You can see that the waves are going to be impacting areas such as North Carolina up towards Cape Cod. We could be talking about waves as 10 to 15 feet higher than what we usually have. So over the next 2 to 4 days, this will be the area impacted right here in yellow. So if you're going to be heading to the beaches during that time, you certainly want to make sure you know what's going on in the forecast and make your decision whether you want to actually head out there or not. The other story is the Caribbean, very quiet, and it looks like now the Gulf of Mexico getting a little bit more on the active side. We have our area of low pressure that could develop a surface low. Nonetheless, what it's going to do is it's going to move right into the north-southeast, and that's going to bring some heavy rain, where we've seen so much rain already over the last several days here in central Florida. Radar still showing a few showers here, and as a result of all that moisture making its way in through this location over the next
Expect fair skies Friday through Sunday with temperatures in the 70s on Friday.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for our tropical update. We'll start here in the Atlantic, and then we'll talk about what's happening in the Pacific. We have a couple of areas. Of course, we're watching the Gulf of Mexico for the potential of a tropical low to develop here, and then Hurricane Fabian. And then we have a couple of areas here just southwest of Cape Verde, and then here just coming off of Africa that may merge together and head off toward the west. And there is some potential for development, and we'll keep a close eye on that. Let's talk about Fabian, though. Category 4 hurricane still, but has decreased a little bit over the last 24 hours as far as intensity. Pressure has come up a little bit, 945 millibars, but it's still a Category 4 hurricane. It's going to already producing some really big waves, some big swells here, and dangerous dangerous to be out in the waters here in the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico, so please be careful. Now, hurricane hunters have been out investigating and did find the pressure at 945 millibars. It is encountering some shear from the west, but still holding together fairly well. The eye not as well defined, a little ragged here. As you can see, we're kind of getting a break in the convection right in here, but it is forecast to continue on a west-northwest track and then more northerly in time and may impact Bermuda. So folks in Bermuda over the next 48 to 72 hours should watch this. Good news, it is forecast to come down in intensity, but even the East Coast should be watching this over the next couple of days. In the Gulf of Mexico, we have an area of disturbed weather here, a surface trough, but not a low-level circulation, but it is possible this could develop into a surface low and a tropical low. Either way, it's going to bring a lot of heavy rain into Florida, and the hurricane hunters will be going out later today to investigate this. Now, just south of Cabo San Lucas, this area here, this could become our next tropical system. And then we have Tropical Depression Jimena heading away from the Hawaiian Islands. Nick?
Well, joining us now is Alexandra Steele of Your Weather Today. Good morning, Alexandra.
Hi there. Top of the morning to you, Nick.
Oh, thanks. Hey, as Kim was saying, Bermuda may soon feel Hurricane Fabian's sting, but most of us may not.
Yeah, that's right. And Dr. John Neese is here, and he's going to show us why. And then Dennis Smith will keep us posted on any travel delays that may develop for your ride to work or to school. Buffalo back to school today, so is Boston. And speaking of rides, Nick shows us what a warm fall could do to gasoline prices. Nick?
That's right. Warm weather could help keep gasoline prices inflated across the country. The Bloomberg Money Barometer updates the costly situation.
Good morning. If you noticed higher prices at the pump this past Labor Day holiday weekend, you're not alone. Gasoline prices were at record highs, exceeding $2 a gallon in some areas. Retail gasoline has jumped 15% in the past month and 26% from a year ago. This in part because of higher costs for crude oil and the power blackout 2 weeks ago that shut several refineries. U.S. motor fuel demand typically rises between May and September as warmer weather encourages people to go on driving vacations. However, driving demand lagged last year's levels in June and part of July because cool and wet weather discouraged travel on the East Coast. But it's worth noting demand climbed in August as the weather improved. Motorist demand increased at a time when refineries typically begin focusing on heating oil production to boost supplies before the winter. For the Weather Channel, I'm Linda Bell with the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
All right, let's get you situated for the big weekend. College football, NFL. Hey, on Sunday, wow, we've got some great weather for most of the games on Saturday. Here we're looking at some good weather at Notre Dame as Washington State is in town on Saturday. And for Sunday, if you are in Green Bay, the Vikings will be coming into town, and we'll be looking at some good weather as well.
That was the bridge coming from Georgia.
Temperatures into the 70s on Saturday.
Well, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. We're sort of in the tunnel right now, though, it looks like.
Yeah, it's kind of dark and gray and rainy. In fact, looking at the situation in the Northeast, now we have some airport delays out of LaGuardia running about 25 minutes. A rainy day on tap. Philadelphia, soggy and a stormy one in D.C. We'll keep you up to date in the wet weather for today.
That's it for First Outlook. Have a great day, everyone.
Your Weather Today follows local on the 8th.
Great hair and makeup are important for these models to look their best, but the big Hollywood secret is professional teeth whitening.
Having white teeth in the profession that I do full-time, which is modeling and acting, is extremely important.
Introducing White Brilliance, the #1 whitener, rated best results overall by Good Housekeeping magazine. In this independent study, White Brilliance outperformed all the other leading brands tested, including whitening strips. So why would white...
Time now for your tropical update here at the Weather Channel. I'm meteorologist Rich Johnson. Hurricane Fabian is still moving in the Atlantic. We're going to check Fabian plus the latest on the Gulf of Mexico because there is a possibility of a tropical depression forming in the northeastern, north-central Gulf area. So a few different features to watch. There's Fabian, Hurricane Fabian, and the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. That's a disturbance which will be investigated by the hurricane hunters very shortly. First of all, Fabian. Latest information on Fabian as of 11 a.m. Atlantic Standard. It was centered 22.4 north, 62.7 west. That's about 700 miles south of Bermuda. Top sustained winds 135 miles per hour. So Fabian's still a powerful hurricane. It's moving off to the northwest now at 9 miles per hour. Notice what's going on here. You can see the cloud pattern sort of elongating some. And that sort of points the way that when it tries to make more of a turn. So that's what's happened over the past couple of days. Almost due westerly direction. Now it's trying to point more off to the northwest. So it is curving some. Pressure 945 millibars. It's changed very little past 24 hours. Here's our visible satellite photograph. Puerto Rico right here, Virgin Islands, right down toward the northeast of the Leeward Islands. You can see the eye of the hurricane, the strongest winds in a hurricane surrounding that eye. So we still have very solid structure here with this hurricane. The latest infrared picture. Notice the north side of the hurricane right here. You see some yellows and the reds very thick on the south side and most of the way around except for the north side. So there's a little bit of deterioration off to the north, and sometimes you'll see that happening. What we're looking at is the reconnaissance aircraft done investigating this time around. Of course, there will be additional flights, but very consistent pattern here. We think overall the waves will be the big problem back over toward the islands. And even one or two squalls. Look at this, the latest radar out of Puerto Rico showing Fabian off to your northeast, and one of these squall bands actually dropping down from the north. That doesn't happen very often, from the north down through the Virgin Islands and over toward the northeastern part of the islands, the leewards, getting some showers from Fabian. Where's Fabian heading? Well, we think Fabian will continue to turn. We're very assured of that, and the reason we're saying that is because there should be a large trough on the eastern seaboard which should hook Fabian more northward over the next few days. Although Bermuda, right here, that's that little dot, Bermuda, still there's potential that Fabian could come very close to the island sometime late this week over to around Saturday. It's the latest on Fabian. What else is going on? Here's the Caribbean Sea, almost perfectly clear. Gulf of Mexico, two different features. First of all, this right here, that's an upper air low pressure center. We're not looking for development with that. What we're watching closely is right here. It's checking out some of the buoy data, all the buoys out there in the Gulf. And there does appear to be a circulation. I think if you look closely here, you can see a spin, and these are the low clouds. So it does look like there's some sort of spin here. You have the deep convection on the east side, so it also appears that it's being sheared by some high-level winds somewhat. If you notice some of the high cirrus clouds from that upper low, they're blowing almost to the north and curving northeastward, so it may be shearing the system a little bit. It's possible that this could be classified as a tropical depression later today, depending exactly what the Hurricane Hunter aircraft finds as it investigates. So keep your eye on this disturbance off to the south of Pensacola. Here's our latest back over toward Africa. We do have a couple of tropical waves, nothing imminent for development. Over to the Pacific side, tropical depression 11E, 19.2 north, 111.9 west, 8 a.m. advisory, Pacific daylight. That's about just over 300 miles southwest of Cabo San Lucas. Does appear that the organization is getting better. There's tropical depression Jimena making its way a long ways from the Hawaiian Islands. Still, there might be some surf kicking up, but you can see it is finally getting out of the picture. And the tropical cyclone that hit Taiwan and China now dissipating as it continues to move inland. Back here in the States, showers and storms with locally heavy rain. Talk much more about that, plus a story of a horse stuck in the mud. We'll talk about at the top of the hour. First of all, let's check out your local on the 8s.
I'm just like you. I work hard every day. Back pain or not.
Expect fair skies Friday through Sunday with temperatures in the 70s on Friday.
It's 10 minutes before the hour and time for the tropical update. I'm meteorologist Carl Parker. Let's check in with our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. And Steve, we have a brand new tropical depression in the Gulf. What will the primary impact be?
It looks like it's going to be rain over the Florida Peninsula over the next several days as it moves off to the east-northeast, and that's good news. Let's look at the latest satellite imagery here, and it shows also the information. Winds 30 miles per hour and nearly stationary. Now those 30-mile-per-hour winds are going to be in a very, very small area right near the low pressure center, because on the periphery over here we're seeing basically 10 to 15 mile-an-hour winds and seas about 2 to 4 feet. So it's a very small circulation right now. And notice also most of the heavy rain showers are not near the low pressure center, so any possibility for rapid development tonight is virtually impossible. So as you see, this system is going to remain fairly stationary, and then as it frontal boundary comes to the south, it's going to push off toward the east-northeast, and then as it moves off the eastern seaboard, become extratropical quickly. So we don't expect it to impact too much the Carolinas, as that front will sweep through and keep it offshore. But in the meantime, we do have tropical storm warnings up. It's forecast to become a tropical storm Henri, if that's the case. And you can see the tropical storm warning area here, very broad because the circulation is rather poorly defined now, so this is sort of precautionary. And as we look at our projected path here, this is more of a timeline for the timing of the system rather than the impact. Keep in mind there could be significant rain well to the south and north of a very poorly defined circulation. But basically, sometime on Friday would be the heaviest rain over the north central Florida peninsula. Let's go out to our more powerful hurricane in the central Atlantic. This is Fabian, moving basically to the northwest at 9 miles per hour. Winds down to 120 miles per hour. That's great news. At least it's a Category 3 compared to Category 4. Impact to the islands, 10 to 15 foot surf on the north side. That's about it right now, and we don't expect any more than that. Watch out, small craft, and watch out if you're surfing and also fishing on those rocks. Don't let the high surf knock you off. Here's a close-up view, well-defined eye. The system is continuing to move to the west-northwest, wobbling back and forth as it does so. It'll continue on that track to the north. And, of course, this little black dot here is Bermuda. So we expect that to be a problem area there with very high surf coming that way, maybe 25 feet or higher, and you could get some very high winds there. So watch out for some warnings coming up in that area over the next several days. In the meantime, one other low pressure area out in the Atlantic we're monitoring. The remainder of the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean are in good shape, and in the eastern Pacific, a tropical depression moving away from land. So we're in good shape there. Carl?
Dr. Steve Lyons, thank you so much, and let's go ahead and talk about severe weather and very heavy rain that is now falling in the east for the umpteenth day in a row. The heaviest rains right now extending from the D.C. area and on southward into southeastern Virginia and back into eastern parts of Tennessee. We do have flood watches up in many areas, especially around the Appalachians and also down into Florida. We've had a lot of rain in Florida in the last several days. The rain continues today up and down 75 and between 75 and I-4 from Tampa into Orlando. And do know that there will be much more in the way of wet weather through tonight and tomorrow as that tropical system moves onshore. Also showers and storms into Texas, and a lot of this continuing tomorrow along our boundary. That will be pressing eastward, and it looks like it's going to be a great weekend in much of the east, and we'll talk more about that in the weekly planner coming up at about 10 minutes after the hour.
And there's much more to come on the second hour of Weather Center, including some welcome news for you folks who have seen way too much rain.
We'll be back after your local on the 8s. Please stay tuned.
Share what's inside.
Visit www.camelkitchen.com for delicious meal ideas the whole family will love.